This is the Getting Started video for the GURPS Game Aid for Foundry. Once you've installed our game system and created a world and logged in as the game master, one of the first things you're going to do is want to create characters. We expect that you will create and maintain your characters in an external character creation program like GCA or GCS. It's pretty much just like pen and paper. You would use GCA or GCS to build your character, you print it out, and you bring your paper to the table and you play. Well, that's exactly how our Game Aid works. I'll show a quick example of how we would export from GCS. Here's a character in GCS. And I'm going to select Export to Master Library Output Templates and Foundry VTT, and it saved the file. Now I'll go into Foundry and I'll import it. Our Game Aid actually doesn't create actors, that's the Foundry term for characters. Instead, it updates an actor. So you have to create an actor first. But this update will overwrite everything in the actor, which is by design. So give this actor a name. Since it's going to be overridden, I'm just going to call it Q. And then this button right here, the import button, I'm going to press it and select the file that I just exported from GCS. And now I'll import it. And if you compare them side to side, they look pretty similar. Well, that's because we based our character sheet on the GCS character sheet. So let me add the portrait. And there we go. My character is inside Foundry. And this is the expected process. If you need to make a change to your character sheet, do it in your character creation tool. And this includes adding or subtracting equipment, because equipment can change your character sheet. So I'll delete the balanced throwing axe and re-export and re-import into Foundry. Because I saved Bog in the special location, as documented in the user's guide, it didn't even have to bring up the file dialog. It just re-imported. So this can be done really quickly. Make a change in your character creation tool, export, come into Foundry, press the import button, and you're up to date. Of course, I think Bog's going to miss his axe, but oh well. Let me give you a quick overview of the character sheet. Anything in yellow that changes into a button when you mouse over it is a button that you can click. So if I want to roll against Bog's strength, I just click this. If I want to roll his dodge, I click there. If I want to roll the attack for his two-handed axe, there. And if I want to roll the damage, I click there. The chat log records if the roll succeeds or fails, or has a critical success or a critical failure. And in the case of damage, it actually has this little draggable section here, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then there are blue links. These are links to the PDFs. If you have PD Foundry installed, and you should, there's instructions in the user's guide, and you have the PDF, then this becomes a live link. I can click on this and it'll open the basic set, page 215, so I can read about these rules. You will also see some things in orange that turn into buttons. These are modifiers. If you click on them, they get summed up down here in the thing we call the Modifier Bucket, and they apply to the next roll. So if Bog was going to try to chop somebody's head off and take a -5 to attack the neck, I do this. And you can see in the chat log that it rolls his two-handed axe, -5 to try to hit the neck. The new target is 10, and he missed. To keep track of hit points and fatigue, we have these trackers here. You can use the buttons to change the values. You can use this to reset. If you click in here, you can type in a number. And if you hover over the text, you'll actually see the various levels for hit points and fatigue. Well, these are built into the basic set. We offer 4 other resource trackers that can be defined for your particular world. In this case, Bog is using control points from the Fantastic Dungeon Grappling Rule, which I have the PDF for, and if I click on this link, it takes me to those rules. To make your life and your players' lives easier, you can actually add buttons to the character sheet using the on-the-fly system. This is basically creating buttons on the fly. Check the user guide for all the formulas, but I'll show you a couple examples here. Lady Serial has a broadsword, and if she parries with it while wielding her shield, the parry is actually at a +1. So we'll make this into an on-the-fly button. I double-click on the item to bring up the editor, and then I just change the note. Actually, this would work best if I changed it in GCS so that it continues to export this way, but I'm just doing this here to show you what happens. Well, now this becomes a button, and if I press parry +1, you can see in the chat log it rolls parry +1. Let's do a second one. I'm going to edit this small shield. If you're wielding a shield and you are dodging from somebody from the front or the shield side, you get a +1. So I'll add this on-the-fly formula in, and it now becomes a modifier. So in that situation, the player can add the modifier. You see it in the modifier bucket, and then I'll roll dodge. And you see in the chat log that it has been added to the roll. I have a whole video on-the-fly formulas. It can get pretty advanced. You can see this character here has a lot of different on-the-fly formulas embedded in the sheet, including this one here, acrobatic dodge. This button will roll acrobatics, and if you fail or succeed, it will give you a bonus or subtract from your dodge, all in one button. So while Alejandro made his acrobatics, he failed his dodge. If you play GURPS, then you know you're always adding or subtracting numbers from a dice roll. Well, that's where our modifier bucket comes in. The modifier bucket is an extremely large tooltip. If you move your mouse over this red square, the bucket opens up. You can click on any of these to add to the bucket, and you can see them being summed up here on the left. You can click on them to delete. You can delete everything by going to this trash can. But the idea is you're going to create the stack of modifiers necessary for your next roll. We've got a large number of common modifiers over here, and you can select from those, or just some general modifiers down here at the bottom, or you can even type in your own if you want. You can even create a journal entry and add it to the bucket and have it right here. So you can customize the modifier bucket tooltip to have any modifiers you need. And yes, this is a tooltip. If I mouse away, it goes away. If I mouse over it, it comes back. So let's do a quick combat example. Let's have Alejandro try to punch this prone goblin in the face. I can tell it's prone because the goblin has the prone status icon on it. If you right mouse click on any token and click on this symbol, you can see all the statuses that we provide. So let's set up the attack. So as the GM, I've decided that it's twilight, he's trying to hit him in the face, and I'm giving a -1 because it's rainy. And since he doesn't have a specific brawling skill, I'll just roll dex. And of course he failed. But if he didn't fail, the goblin would have to defend. So we'll select the goblin and bring up the modifier tooltip, and you can see in the top left, it knows we have selected the goblin and that it is prone. So it's showing you these recommended modifiers if you're using that. We don't automate this, but we're trying to help you as best we can. So in this case, he is prone, so it's going to be a -2 to his active defenses. I'll open up the goblin and try to dodge. And of course that failed. So we'll just say it's basic swing damage because he's slapping him. And here you can see the damage chat with its draggable section. And how this works is the GM would drag this onto the creature or character that has taken the damage. You can drop it on a character sheet, you can drop it on the token itself, or you can drop it on the entry in the combat tracker. That works better if the combat tracker is actually a separate window. And when you drop the damage, we bring up the damage calculator. Now there's a whole other video that talks about this, but this helps you with a lot of the GURPS math, so we'll just apply the injury. And that's the basics of using the character sheet. Of course, you can go beyond that. We have chat commands, and with the on-the-fly system that allows you to call chat commands or call macros from on-the-fly buttons, you can build pretty complex character sheets, like our example of the acrobatic dodge. We have 4 different character sheets, and you can use any one you want. There's the full one, the combat one, the simple, and the NPC. We have a quick button to bring you to the combat view. You can click this button here in the title bar, and it brings you to a smaller view that focuses only on the combat features. And you can just go back and forth just by clicking this button as many times as you want. We offer a simple character sheet, and this was modeled after Mook's PDF that he would hand out at conventions just for brand new GURPS players. And we have a little mini sheet that's mainly for NPCs. As it was hinted at before, the GMs actually have a special utility to allow them to quickly create NPCs or mooks in the Foundry system without having to go through GCA or GCS. It's called the mook generator. You bring it up with /mook. And a GM can go through here and quickly fill in some of these values, test it, and then save it. We have a whole nother video that describes this. Check it out. And one final thing, while most of the information does come from the character creation tools, you can create equipment and notes that are local to Foundry. These will not get overwritten during the re-imports, they're just local. It's for things like consumables or player notes. You can just press this plus button and type in your new note. And by default, character-created notes and equipment have this blue banner. And last but not least, a few quality of life things. In Foundry, you can collapse any character sheet just by double-clicking on the title bar. That's great for doing work, getting it out of the way, and then bringing it back. And in our Game Aid, you can drag any of the clickable things into the macro bar. So if I want to drag Lady Cyril's broadsword in, I can do that, and the damage, and even the bonus to the dodge. And you can right-mouse click and edit, and click on the icon and pick anything. Door of Steel, that looks good. And hopefully this will give you enough information to get you started with GURPS in Foundry. If you have any questions, join us on the VTT channel in the GURPS Discord, or the GURPS channel on the Foundry Discord. And as always, thank you for watching.